SRB Media.
All right, Gab, you all right, mate?
Morning, Dev, and welcome all to Birmingham City Chat with former Birmingham City striker and fans' favourite, Paul Devlin. How are you, Dev?
I'm good, mate, thanks.
How do you think the two games have shaped up so far before we go into the recruitment?
Obviously, you look at the stats, which everyone was seemed to be really eager to put up for the Brentford game, and it didn't look like we were too much in the game, but we've ended up coming away with 3 points, which I think everyone would have snapped their hands off beforehand. Obviously, looking at the Portsmouth game the other night, very young experimental team, disappointing results. Obviously, felt a little bit for all the people that travelled down there to watch the game. But yeah, very early doors at the minute, mate.
Stats, Dev, I don't go for stats. The biggest stat and the only stat I go for is you've scored more goals than them and you win the game.
Well, that's it, mate. Yeah, if we'd have played brilliantly and lost or got a draw, would we be any more happier than, probably having one shot on target and scoring? So it's a 100% success rate with the shots on target then.
Another thing that I don't get and I don't buy into is systems, Dev. I think that you've got 11 players on the pitch. You've got really 3/3 of the pitch. You've got the defence, the midfield and the attacking third. The midfield and the attacking third, the most important. Get the ball into them areas, get them into the danger areas, play good football, try and win games, play fast flowing attacking football. I don't care if you're playing 3 at the back or 4 at the back or whatever system that you're playing. For me, it's about players, not systems. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think in today's day and age with coaches, they can tend to try and baffle people with science and different formation and overcomplicate the game. So, I'm with you in that. It tends to be every other week you hear this different terminology and different systems and withdrawn number 9s and false number 10s and all this and that. And I think a lot of it's smoke and mirrors, mate, to be honest. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's about the players that you've got on the pitch and, how good they are first and foremost and how much they want it. I mean, what I will say about the Portsmouth game, I just felt that we were far too deep. Even the lads that were playing up the top third of the pitch, Bellingham and Crowley, were dropping that deep. When we did get possession of the ball, we had no outs. We had no one who was going to hold the ball up front, and we had no one who was going to run the channels. Hence the fact that Portsmouth just kept coming on top of us.
And also as well, Portsmouth are not a bad team. They got to the within a whisker of the playoffs and getting promoted last season. They certainly got to the equivalent of the Leyland DAF final last season as well. They've got some decent old pros in their team. Yeah. I just thought that the side that we went, and I love blooding young kids. I think it's great. I think you've got to have a balance. And I think that taking an under-23s team up to that, and I know seeing all the Twitter reports from certain players, they said that they learnt a lot. But really and truthfully, I felt that it was like sending lambs into the slaughter, and I think we could have done with 1 or 2 older heads in that.
I couldn't agree with you more, and a big gripe that I've had over the last few years is this under-23 league, to be honest with you. I remember when I was coming through as a kid at Notts County when I was 19, the Wednesday night reserve league was a fantastic league. So you'd have a reserve team which could be full of, there could be quite a few players coming back from injury, or you could have players that are not in the team, but proper men, first team players. So you could have a youngest kid of 16 in there, and you could have a 35-year-old in the same team. Now, my big gripe with the under-23 league is kids can be great playing against other kids, but then when you've got to step up to first team level and you're going to be playing against a big centre-half who's been around the block and he's 32 years of age, who's going to kick you a little bit and leave a little bit on you, it's a completely different experience. So I think the fact that they're not playing in those mixed age groups now can give you a sort of false sense of security of where they're at on their learning curve with the football side of it, really. It's a difficult one, mate. It's like you say, you want to block the young kids, but I just know as I got older in my career, if you came up against a team that had a load of young kids in, you just really fancied it because you could bully them.
100% spot on. And I thought the young lad that played at the back as well, I think the fact that if it Birmingham weren't 3 down at the time and it was his debut, he'd have got a red card. But I think the referee looked at him and thought, look, I'm not going to gain anything. Portsmouth aren't going to gain anything. The lad isn't going to gain anything. So I'll leave him on the pitch and I'll just ignore that ridiculous challenge. But as you say, if you're playing against men every week in a reserve league, you know what to do, when to go in, when to drop off. You learn the game. You're educating yourself all the time playing in reserve football, aren't you?
Yeah, because the thing that they're not getting against when they're playing against other under-23 players in that league, 99% of the time, they're not playing against players with any experience, longevity, long-term experience at the top level, who know the little tricks that go on in the game and the little things that need to be done to manage the game. So they're not getting it. And then when you do step up to that level, if you're putting them all in en masse, as we did on Tuesday night, it can go wrong, which obviously it blatantly did, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Recruitment, Dev, very important pre-season. Birmingham lost two big players, in my opinion, in Shay Adams and Morrison. Big positions to fill as well, centre-half and goal scorer. How do you think they've fared with the recruitment, identifying players and making the team better from last season in those departments particular?
Well, I think you'll struggle to make the team better losing Adams' goals. I mean, obviously replacing 24, 25 goals is a massive ask, and you look at it logically. Morrison and Adams, it's sort of half the spine of your team gone if you're talking your central midfielder and your goalie. I've been impressed with Morrison over the last couple of years, so I think there were two big blows, and I think it's too early at the minute, Gab, to say we've replaced them or we've got better or we've got worse, because we're only 2 games in, and one of them games was obviously a very, very makeshift team. So I think you have to wait a couple of months and let them bed in and say, right, okay, this is where we're going with these lads that we're bringing in.
Now we seem to be recruiting a lot of foreign players. Now, I haven't got a problem with foreign players, and one of the best foreign players that we recruited while you was there was Christophe Dugarry. So
yeah, of course, yeah.
It's the quality of the player, and lots of these players are young players. So again, we don't know what we're going to get from young players. And in the Spanish, the centre forward from Almeria, he's 28, so he's an experienced player.
Yeah.
He scored 20 goals last season, but in I think 11 seasons he's played in about, I think Birmingham are his 10th team, and many of the clubs that he's played for, he's gone there as a reserve and a B team player. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we all, you just mentioned obviously one of our best ever foreign signings, Dugarry, and then you look at Henry. But what I will say, mate, is for every Dugarry, for every Henry, you probably get 10, 15, 20 that come to this country and are just absolutely no better than what we've already got here,
exactly.
and just fade into obscurity. Yeah. Obviously, we've got to give them all a chance. 10 clubs in 11 seasons is, that would ring alarm bells with me, to be perfectly honest. But obviously, with the foreign connection, with the coaching staff, they're going to be a lot more in the know about those type of players than I am. What I will say is there's going to be an absolutely huge difference in standard and intensity playing in the Spanish second division to the Championship, where he's playing 2 games a week for a lot of the season at a really high tempo and in a really, really competitive league, probably the hardest league in the world to get out of. So again, time's going to tell with that one, Gav.
And he has had a couple of operations to the groin area and the knee as well. That's why he's not played that many games. But like you say, you've got to give these players a chance. It is deadline day today. Can you see any more players coming in? And do you think Birmingham City need more players to come in? Particularly, I'm thinking up front. I think that you need 2 sets of strikers for me going into a season. And then you're hoping that you've got a couple of kids that are going to come through. I like the look of Odin Bailey, and I really like the look of Jude Bellingham. I think he's a fine player. He played so deep. You're absolutely right. In fact, he was right back in some occasions. I'd like to see that boy push a lot further on. And I'd like to see Crowley and Bellingham play as inside forwards around Djukovic in that final third, because I think Crowley's got a trick on him. He has an ability to run up his own backside, and I think he can be a frustrating player, but he can pick a pass out, and I think that if you play him in the right manner, I think Birmingham have got a diamond there in the midst.
Yeah, like you say, from obviously the brief bits I've seen, and what you want to do with Crowley, you want to get him one-on-one, isolating a full-back or a defender and let him go. Players like that can be frustrating. Many a time I'd fall out with the centre forwards and I'd get my head down and try and take them on and they'd want to pass. But, the odd occasion he'll do it and whiz past someone, whip across, whip a shot in and score. It's all forgiven. So I would like to see him further up the pitch. I don't foresee Bellingham being the player that is right at the top. I see him playing slightly withdrawn of an out-and-out. A Djukovic, perfect example, picking the ball up a little bit deeper and linking in. I don't think he's that target man type or that one that's going to really have the explosive pace to get in behind. But I do see him linking up better with someone who's going to play a little bit further up the pitch, which is going to enable them to get the ball up to him, and then he in turn, Bellingham, can get further up the pitch himself. Because like you say, I mean, at times on Tuesday he's getting back, left back, right back, making tackles. It's brilliant, great work ethic. But you want your forwards at the other end of the pitch. If I'm a defender and I've got Bellingham and Crowley back in right and left back positions, it's happy days, isn't it? They're not going to score from there. I agree with you about the forward situation. Always going to be difficult after losing Shea's goals, and obviously the Vassell situation looks like he's gone or going, which to me is a strange one.
Yeah.
And I think we're light up front. Leaving it till this moment in time now makes it very difficult, because if clubs know that you're that desperate to get one in, obviously the price might go up a little bit, and obviously the people, the good forwards, the business is probably already done by now. But I do definitely think we need one or two who can get us goals, whether that's an out-and-out forward or somebody in a wide area midfielder that can score as well. But I think we just might be a little bit light in the goals department this season.
I agree. Sonic, what do you reckon? Young Croatian under-21 international. He looked a prospect when we watched him this summer in that tournament. But again, we've seen so many players playing in a World Cup. For instance, we bought CC after the World Cup, and he didn't really transform into the player that we believed that he would do. Although he did have a great season with Savage in the centre of Birmingham's midfield, didn't he?
But you say that, Gab. He had a good first couple of months, and he sort of faded into obscurity after that. So, he had a good start, good initial impact. Listen, mate, it's difficult when you go and watch international football and playing with the players that they're playing with, and they're playing in a team that speaks the native tongue. There are loads of different things, and I just think at times they come over here, 2 games a week, the intensity. What you've got to deal with physically week in, week out with a championship. And like I said earlier on, it's got to be the only league in the world where you could sit down beforehand and you could maybe write a list of 10 teams that could possibly go out the league. I don't think there'd be another league in the world where you could write 10 teams that could possibly have a chance of winning the league, would you? You certainly couldn't do it in Spain, you couldn't do it in England, you couldn't do it in Scotland, Germany. So I just think it's a really, really difficult league to come into.
100% agree, Dev, spot on. It's almost like, do you remember the Shoot magazine? You got the league ladders and you got all your tabs. You could just throw them on the floor, pick them up and just put them in that position, and that could be where teams are going to finish in the championship. It is so hit and miss. Where do you think Birmingham will finish? Where do you see Birmingham City this season and the progression, and where do you see us going?
Well, like I say, obviously losing Morrison Adams, who he's a big bloke. I'd be perfectly honest, mate. I'd be happy with mid-table this season. I really would. I'd be happy with mid-table. I'd love to be standing there talking to you, saying we're pushing for the playoffs and we'll be challenging. But that would be my head, my heart ruling my head. To be perfectly honest with you, I think if we don't get goals in the team and we don't bring people in who can nick us a few goals, then obviously it might be a long hard season. But I would, if you says to me now, Gab, halfway, I'd take that.
Yeah, I'd be looking, for me, if I was the manager, I'd write this season off. I don't like writing things off, but I'd look at it. I think we've got absolutely no chance, but I'd like to blood some of the kids. I like Odin Bailey, I like Jude Bellingham. There are a number of other players that I think we can integrate, that we can build, we can work on. And I would say that this is the rebirth of Birmingham City rather than aiming for the playoffs, because I think if we do that, I think we're going to be massively disappointed, because I don't think we're good enough and strong enough.
No, I don't think we've got the strength and depth. Like you say, if we can get some of those younger players sort of playing regularly, I don't think we can put too many in too soon, because you'll see what will happen with that.
Yeah.
If we do that at championship level, then it is going to be a long, hard season for us. But if we can blood them and get sort of 10, 12, 15 game under some of them belt, obviously keep them all together, build from there. I'm a big believer, as I know you are, mate, is that you've got to get some experience in the team as well. And just you never know. Listen, stranger things have happened. We might be talking in 8 months and we're 6th in the league or something. You don't know. I don't. That again. That's probably my heart ruling my head. But I would take halfway at the minute and just try and build on what we've got there.
Well, let's hope we're going to be talking, because we want to do this regular, Dev, throughout the season. Every couple of 3 weeks, we'll have a Birmingham City chat with Paul Devlin. Before I leave you, and before you leave me, we must have an Annie update. How's the young princess doing?
Yeah, she's doing okay at the moment, mate. We're going on holiday tomorrow, and it'll be the first sort of family holiday we've had since she got taken ill in 2017 at Christmas time. So she's looking forward to that. So yep, she's doing okay at the minute, mate.
Brilliant. And is there still a Just Giving or a page there that people can donate to, or is it on your Facebook page? How can
Yeah,
people get involved and give you dough, Dev, is what I'm saying?
yeah. There's the Just Giving pages. I haven't got the link to it to hands at the minute, but
Yep.
she has got a Just Giving page. Or if people just DM me directly, then I can sort them out that way as well.
Brilliant. Top stuff as always, Dev. Have a great holiday. Give the princess a cuddle and love to all the family. And we'll speak in a couple of weeks and we'll have another Birmingham City update.
Cheers, Gab. All the best, pal.
Cheers, pal. Bye, Dev.
Ta-ra.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
SRP Media.